welcome everyone to our Monday evening edition of our gospel meeting this week. We have the privilege to have Brother Brian Hodge with us yesterday to speak on 3 topics: focus on the cross, live with purpose, and don't hide the gospel. And they have been very good messages, very challenging to our Christianity, to our spirituality. And we're looking forward to 3 more good messages tonight, tomorrow, and Wednesday. I have a little more to say about him, an introduction, but let's begin tonight with song number 801, Where No One Stands Alone. And after this song, we're going to be led in prayer by Brother Lloyd McElhaney of the Avery Church of Christ. I got that right, McElhaney? First time, okay, good. Let's be standing for this song. 801, Where No One Stands Alone. Once I stood in the night with my head bowed low, in the darkness as black as could be, and my heart felt alone, and I cried, "Oh Lord, don't hide your face from me. Hold my hand all the way, every hour, every day, from here to the grave, unknown. Take my hand, let me stand where no one stands alone. Like a king, I may live in a palace so tall, with great riches to call my own. But I don't know a thing in this whole wide world that's worse than being alone. Hold my hand all the way, every hour, every day, from here to the grave, unknown. Take my hand, let me stand where no one stands alone. Please remain standing for prayer.
Our dear Lord God and Father in heaven, we praise you. We give you thanks, Father, for being able to true and living God. We thank you, Father, for being our God. Help us always to praise, serve you as you've given. Thank you so much, Father, for your Son who brings life to us. We thank you so much for your word that brings us life, that teaches us the things that you would have us to do. And help us, Father, to have faith in you according to your word. Help us to live for you, put you first in our lives and all things. Help us consider our lives, Father, that we might overcome the weak parts of it. Help us grow up to be perfected spiritually. And help us always, Father, to seek those things of yours. We pray, Father, for those who are sick, those who are ill, that you might watch over and bless them. Pray for those who mourn always, Father. We pray for our president and our leaders that we might live in peace always while we're here, Father. We pray that you watch over us and we realize that you have power of life and death. pray for your blessings. Thank you for all of your preachers, Father, for those, for your men, for your preachers. Be my brother tonight, Father, and this week as you teach us, we have blessings on him. Help him to remember the things that he studied and help us to pay interest. Father, we're not learn things from it and grow, but we're not appreciate and bear fruit for you. We give you thanks, Father, for all of these things. Ask for these blessings. In the name of Jesus, our precious Lord. Amen.
Please be seated. Next song will be song number 467, We Have an Anchor. And after this song, we'll have our lesson. 467, We Have an Anchor. Will your anchor hold in the storms of mine? When the clouds unfold their wings of strife, when the strong tides lift and the cables strain, will your anchor drift or firm remain? We have an anchor that keeps the soul steadfast and sure while the billows roll. Fasten to the rock which cannot move, grounded firm and deep in the Savior's love. It is safely put, will the storm withstand. Fortress well secured by the Savior's hand. And the cables passed from his heart to mine can defy the blast through strength divine. We have an anchor that keeps the soul steadfast and sure while the billows roll. Fasten to the rock which cannot move, grounded firm and deep in the Savior's love. When our eyes behold through the gathering night the city of gold, our harbor bright, we shall anchor fast by the heavenly shore, with the storms all past forevermore. We have an anchor that keeps the soul steadfast and sure while the billows roll. Fasten to the rock which cannot move, grounded firm and deep in the Savior's love. If you'd like to mark as the song of invitation, it'll be song number 389. I heard the voice of Jesus say, 389. Well, tonight, once again, we have with us Brother Brian Hodge, and he did a fantastic job speaking to us yesterday on some challenging topics. Our overall theme for this week is family and faithfulness, and we're glad to have him back with us tonight. I was privileged to spend some time with him today, getting to know him and appreciate him very much. I haven't really met him very much before this week, but I was pleased to know that we have a lot of people in common, and there's a lot of commonalities there. And he my father-in-law has come to preach at the congregation where he works to fill in a few times, and so he knows him, and so there's just a lot of connections there, and I'm very thankful for that. This week, Brother Hodge is speaking to us on family and faithfulness, and tonight his topic is the role of the father. And that's certainly something that Brother Hodge knows a little bit about. He has three children, and 2 grandchildren. He's married his wife Melinda in 1988, and so he has a tremendous amount of experience being a father, both to young children and to older children. And so we are looking forward to hearing him speak to us tonight on that topic. He has a tremendous amount of Bible knowledge. He has been an instructor in several schools of preaching. Is a part-time instructor in the Brown Trail School of Preaching. He has done some mission work, and he has taught some leadership training classes, and so he has come to us being very, very well qualified. I know that the messages yesterday were very challenging, and I appreciated them so much. So without further ado, I'm going to give you Brother Brian Hodge.
It is so good to be back before you tonight. I appreciate getting to know some of you and reacquainting myself with some that I knew in time past. I appreciate spending a part of the day with Brother Colley today and getting to be with him and his family, and I appreciate their hospitality very much. We spoke about many things, but we spoke about in previous lessons about the world needs to see the love, the unity that we have. That really the church many times is hiding the light. We're our own worst enemies if we don't get along. Well, the brother who led the prayer just a moment ago said that, pray for the preachers. And what I would suggest to you, not only in this congregation, but for visitors that we have from Avery and from other places, is that we work upon the aspect of loving each other and love the preacher. And the preacher ought to love the members. Because we're working together trying to get each other to heaven, and these men have dedicated their lives to trying to help you do that. And let us show the world what true love is. And I would just challenge you in that area to do that, to work upon that, and let the world see the beauty of Jesus Christ. I want to start with a little writing that I came across some time back. Someone said of the Father that he can climb the highest mountain or swim the biggest ocean. He can fly the fastest plane and fight the strongest tiger. But most of the time, he just carries out the garbage. I remember when I was a kid, that's kind of how you look at your father, right? Is you look at him as some superhero, but the older you get, you don't see that superhero anymore, but maybe you realize that it's in the ordinary, everyday things that true greatness is actually found. And we're going to talk about what the father's supposed to be tonight. We're going to talk about what the mother is supposed to be tomorrow night, because if the theme is helping our families get each other to heaven, and particularly helping our children stay faithful, I think is what I was asked to deal with. I would suggest to you that most of that starts with the mother and the father. Most of it starts with the home, and one of the reasons that our young people are falling away is because they don't see the Christian example in the home. Now, if you haven't been what you're supposed to be, you can't go back and fix that, I understand. But I would challenge you from this point forward to be what you're supposed to be to the very best of your ability. Now, I understand there's only one flawless human being that ever lived, and that's Jesus Christ. But to the best of our ability, let us be what the Bible asks us to be as parents. I want to give you some statistics. I talked about the greatness of a father. If you've got a father in the home, you ought to appreciate that. Let me give you some statistics on the importance of a father. Just 46% of teenagers aged 15 to 17 are living with both biological parents. 46%, less than half. And when it comes to single parents at homes, you know who they're headed by? 83% of the time it's a single mother. 83% of the time. If someone's missing, it's usually the father. And what does that do if the father's not there? Here are some statistics that fairly recent statistics I've come across. A study by Princeton found that boys raised in single-parent homes were twice as likely to end up in prison. Twice as likely. study found that girls whose fathers left home before the girl reached age 6 were 6 times more likely to have a teen pregnancy. Study of a Swedish children between 1991 and 1998 found that those in single-family homes were twice as likely to attempt suicide and 50% more likely to succeed in that suicide. Those that were raised in single-family homes. Now, maybe you've got a single-family home, and I'm not here to knock you if you do. It's not God's ideal. God designed the home the way He did. But you know, sometimes we can't prevent what it is. And if you're in a family situation that is where you don't have both a mother and a father, I don't want you to feel bad as we go through and talk about the role of the father. Brother Colley mentioned my writings last night. I've got a blog where I put out articles on all kinds of things, and it's brianhodge.net, Brian with a Y, brianhodge.net. And one of the articles I posted on there, if you are a single parent, the reason I mentioned the blog is for this reason. I've got an article on there, if you go to the search box and just type it in, called Unique Families. And it gives some suggestions. If you're in a single family situation, it's not hopeless. You can raise a faithful child. And I give you some examples there of things that you can do. And so I don't want you to feel left out if you're not in a two-parent structured system at home. But the statistics are certainly on the side that it's God's ideal. God's ideal is right, that it works much better when the father's there. Another study indicated that girls who grew up without their biological fathers experienced puberty at a younger age. Children of single parents were 6 times more likely to be poor. About 50% of all unwed mothers go on welfare within 1 year of the child's of the birth of their first child, and more than 75% go on welfare within 5 years. 2 men, or two writers, William Galson and Elaine Kamerick, they both served in the Clinton Ford administration, wrote this. And I cite where they used to serve because I want you to understand these are not what we would call the most conservative people in their outlook on the world. But here's what they said. They both work for a liberal think tank now, but they said this. The best anti-poverty program for children is a stable, intact family. And Galson wrote this. He said, out of wedlock childbirth causes more than poverty. Out of wedlock childbirth cause more than poverty. They are the leading cause of just about every social malady you can think of, such as bad grades, dropping out of school, drug use and abuse, depression, and problems with self-esteem, early sexual activity, and lower future earnings. It used to be argued that poor outcomes were a result of poverty itself. So with enough assistance from the government, single mothers could avoid such problems. But liberal sociologist Sarah McLuhan and Gary Sanderford showed in the book Growing Up with Single Parents that poverty could only account for about half of these differences. The other half was explained by fatherlessness. Now, folks, these are not right. These people are not writing from a Christian perspective. They're just telling you how it is. The same man wrote in 2015 an article entitled The Poverty Cure. He wrote it for the Wall Street Journal. It was titled this, The Poverty Cure, Get Married. And it says cohabitation is not a replacement for marriage. Overall, cohabitation, on average, cohabitation couples stay together only 18 months. 2 in 3 children born in cohabitating couples will see their biological parents break up by age 12. The fact is vital because family instability is a major source of poor outcomes for children. The value of the home society today with some of the things that are going on, particularly in inner city environments, it has to do with the breakdown of the home. And we could give a lot of statistics, but if you go back to a previous generation, most homes were intact. It is not the case anymore. If your home is intact the way it's supposed to be, you're actually a minority today. Now, with that said, I want to talk about the value of a good husband, a good father. And our lesson today is primarily going to be from the book of Proverbs. We're going to look at fatherhood and being a good husband from the book of Proverbs. But I want to give you some things upon this. And our first point is the value of a good husband and a good father. Proverbs chapter 17, verse 6 says, "Children's children are the crown of old men, and the glory of their children is their father." Now, if you notice the term glory is parallel with the term crown. It's a reference to a crown or a headdress which was placed upon one for respect or honor, to be honored in a situation, if you will. What brings honor to older men? Well, it's their children's children. And what brings honor to the children? It's their father. Fathers can bring their family to respect and honor in this life, giving them the things of this life that they need and giving them a good name. A good name is to be chosen rather than riches, Proverbs 22, verse 1. It's more important than monetary things, a good name. And so you can provide a stable home that has a reputation of living a moral, ethical life. It has value there, but it has a value far beyond this earth. Ultimately, the father's importance can be giving their family to eternal glory. I want you to think about the influence for a moment of some families, of some fathers in the home as you look through the Bible, particularly in the Old Testament. We will take some characters there. I want you to think about Noah. I don't know what the population of the world was in Noah's day, but it no doubt was significant. And out of that global population, how many were on board that ark? Well, just 8, just few, right? Peter says few were saved. That is 8 souls through water. 1 Peter chapter 3, verse 20. But who was on board? You had Noah, you had his wife, you had their 3 sons, and you had their wives. Now, I understand that each one of those people were free moral agents, but don't you think Noah's influence may have had something to do with his family being on board? If you're saving no one else, now we want to save our neighbors, we want to save our friends, but if you're helping to save no one else in this life, ultimately, we need to be trying to save our families. Noah got his family on board the ark. I want you to think about Abraham. In Genesis chapter 18, consider verse 19. So we've got Noah, now we come to Abraham, Genesis 18, verse 19. God says this, "For I know him, in order that he may command his children and his household after him, that they keep the way of the Lord to do righteousness and justice, that the Lord may bring to Abraham what he spoke to him." God says, I know him. He will command his children, is the way it's put in the King James Version. He will command his children and his household after him. And they shall keep the way of the Lord, to do justice and judgment. He's going to raise his children to fear me, to respect me. Or think about maybe one of the most famous passages of the Old Testament. Think about Joshua. Choose for yourselves this day whom you will serve. But as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. We will serve Jehovah. Joshua chapter 24, verse 15. And so, fathers, I want to ask you, where are you leading your children? Where are you leading your families? Proverbs chapter 11, verse 29, talking about the leading of a family, it says, "He who troubles his own house will inherit the wind." Where do you lead your families? is I want to talk about the good husband. Because for the children to be okay, I would suggest to you the relationship of the husband and wife is very, very important. I went to a marriage enrichment seminar right after I got married. Someone encouraged us to go, and the man that was presenting that was making the point that there is no greater responsibility that a father has than to love the mother, to love the mother of his children, to love the wife, to create that home environment the way it's supposed to be. Or you might put it this way, if Daddy loves Mama and Mama loves Daddy, probably the children are going to be okay. So let's talk about the good husband. Proverbs 19, verse 14, a prudent wife is from the Lord. He's going to view marriage as something good, as a gift from God. A prudent wife is from the Lord. It's God who said, back in the creation, it's not good that man should be alone. I will make him a helper comparable to him. The only time in the creation account where it says something is not good is it's not good that man should be alone. He values marriage. God set it up that way. But a good husband also values marriage. He seeks to enjoy life with his wife. In Proverbs chapter 5, let's consider what it says there. In Proverbs 5, let's begin in verse 18. Let your fountain be blessed, and rejoice with the wife of your youth. As a loving deer and a graceful doe, let her breast satisfy you at all times, and always be enraptured with his love. With her love. For why should you, my son, be enraptured by an immoral woman and be embraced in the arms of a seductress? For the ways of man are before the eyes of the Lord, and he ponders all of his path. Well, we can talk about a lot that's said there as he talks about the relationship and the faithfulness that exists. But what I want you to focus in upon is rejoice with the life of your youth. There's a lot of people in our society that look at marriage as a killjoy. And they make jokes about it. If you get married, you're just taking on a ball and chain. That's what you're doing, and it's a big joke. But he says rejoice with your wife. And so the good husband enjoys life in marriage, enjoys the wife, and that's what's being instructed. Colossians 3, verse 19, husbands, love your wives and be not bitter toward them. You ought to spend time with your wife. You ought to date your wife. You tried to win her over at one point. You ought to continue to try to win her over all the time. Not that you want her affections. You want to win her affections each and every day. Solomon wanted to take his wife, I wouldn't recommend this, but he wanted to take his wife on a vacation to the mountains of Lebanon, Song of Solomon, chapter 4, verse 9. I wouldn't recommend going to the mountains of Lebanon necessarily, but you might take them to Colorado. You might vacation with your wife. You might enjoy her company. And not only that, a good husband is faithful. Faithful to his wife. And we read the passage just a moment ago in Proverbs 5. And we'll go back to it. Proverbs 5, verses 15 and following. Drink water from your own cisterns and running water from your own wells. Why should your fountains be dispersed abroad? Verse 17, let them be only your own and not for strangers. And let your fountain be blessed and rejoice with the wife of your youth. And he goes on to talk about faithfulness and that all the ways of man. And why should I be faithful? One of the reasons he gives here is God knows what you're doing. Well, you want the home to be what it's supposed to be, there needs to be faithfulness. Only 35% of marriages, statistically speaking, survive infidelity. And you know, the only reason God allows a spouse to divorce and remarry with his approval is for fornication, Matthew chapter 19, verse 9. There ought to be faithfulness in the home. The kids ought to see a stable environment. But Hebrews chapter 13, verse 4, marriage is honorable among all. But fornicators and adulterers, God will judge. You ought to make marriage honorable. You ought to hold it as honorable. It ought to be regarded as honorable. And you ought to show your children that it's honorable, that it's precious. But not only that, talking about the father's role in is he ought to be one that provides for his family. He ought to support his family. And you see this in the book of Proverbs. In Proverbs chapter 24, verses 30 and following. I went by the field of the lazy man, and by the vineyard of the man void of understanding. And there it was, all overgrown with thorns. Its surface was covered with nettles. Its stone walls were broken down, and when I saw it, I considered it well, and I looked upon it, and received instruction, a little sleep, a little slumber, a little folding the hands to rest. So shall poverty come like a prowler, and your need like an armed man. Proverbs 27, verse 23. Be diligent to know the state of your flocks, and attend to your herds, for riches are not forever, nor does a crown endure to all generations. And when the hay is removed, and the tender grass shows itself, and the herbs of the mountain are gathered in, the lambs will provide your clothing, and the goats the price of your field. You shall have enough of goat's milk for food, and for the food of your household, there's the emphasis that I want to look at, and the nourishment of your maidservants. You ought to provide for your own. 1 Timothy chapter 5, verse 8 says, if a man does not provide for his own, he is worse than an unbeliever. You claim to believe, but even unbelievers provide for their children and provide for their families, and he's certainly given us instruction to do so. When it comes to that relationship as well in the home, he ought to provide an atmosphere of love. Proverbs chapter 15, verse 7 says, better is a dinner of love where let's look at it. Proverbs 15, verse 7. Verse 17. Better is a dinner of herbs where love is than a fatted calf with hatred. He ought to provide an atmosphere, seek to provide an atmosphere of love, and he ought to, his wife is to be the helpmate, the helper, if you will, comparable. He's to appreciate the work that his wife does. And so this is the atmosphere we're talking about. Her husband also praises her. We're told in Proverbs chapter 31, verse 28. And so a father does all of these things. But let's look to our next point, that is the good father. And so we talked about him in the home and with his wife and the atmosphere they're creating, but let's talk about the good father. He values his children. He valued his wife earlier, but he values his children. We saw the passage, Proverbs 17, just a moment ago, verse 6. Children's children are a crown of old men. He values his children. He values his grandchildren. Children are a heritage from the Lord, we're told in Psalm chapter 127, verse 3. Well, we talked a moment ago about providing physically for your children. And that's good. I don't know that sometimes children understand what their parents are doing for them financially, physically, materially. I want to give you a couple of poems that I came across, and their material contribution certainly ought to be appreciated. How about this one? Father didn't always dress in fashion, sort of hated new clothes. Style with him was not a passion. He had other things in view. Boys are blind to much that's going about them from day to day, and I had no way of knowing that what became of Father's pay. All I knew was that when I needed shoes, I got them on the spot. Everything for which I pleaded, somehow Father got. Wondered season after season why he never took a rest, that I might be the reason. That I never guessed. If you've got a father that's working to provide for you, you ought to appreciate that. Another point. Only a dead, neither rich nor proud, merely one of a surging crowd, toiling and striving day to day, facing whatever may come his way, silent whenever the harsh condemns, and buried all for the love of them. Only a dead, but he gives his all to smooth the way for his children small, doing with courage, stern and grim, the deed that his father did for him. And this line is for him, I pen. Only a dead, but the providing for your physical needs, you ought to consider that something wonderful. But let me tell you something. A good father doesn't just provide for your physical needs. He does more than that. There's teaching to be done. Teaching of the children, especially spiritual things. And many times what fathers do is they leave that to the mother. And so spiritual teaching, that's a mother's responsibility. I'll teach them how to throw the ball, but the mother will teach them how to, they'll teach them Bible stories and stuff. And you know what our kids grow up thinking? They think, well, Christianity is something for women. Not something for men. That's the impression that we leave if fathers neglect this role. I want to talk about the father's role in training the children just for a moment. You might say, well, I've got so much responsibility, I've got so little time, I can't do that. I believe that's an excuse. I want you to consider what was said to, what Moses said, or what God said to Joshua as he would succeed Moses. It says, in Joshua 1 verse 8, the book of the law shall not depart from your mouth, but you shall meditate in it day and night, that you may observe to do according to all that is written. For then you will make your ways prosperous, and you will have good success. I want you to take time to meditate upon God's Word. It needs to be that you take time to meditate upon God's Word. It's got to be in your heart first before you teach it to your children. But you certainly have a responsibility to train your children. When I look at Proverbs chapter 6, it says, fathers, bring them up in the nurture and the admonition of the Lord. Fathers have a responsibility, not just to bring them up, but to bring them up in the nurture and the admonition of the Lord. Teach them God's way. And when you go throughout the book of Proverbs, it might be read as a fatherly figure giving instructions to young men, to sons, if you will. Notice the language that's used throughout. Proverbs 1 verse 8. My son, hear the instruction of your father. Verse 10. My son, if sinners entice you, do not consent. Chapter 1 verse 15. My son, do not walk in the way with them. Keep your foot from their path. Chapter 4. Verse 1. Hear, my children, the instruction of the father. Give attention to know and to understand, for I will give you good doctrine. Do not forsake my law. When I was my father's son, tender and the only one in the sight of my mother, he also taught me. And he said, let your heart retain my words, keep my commandments and live. Get wisdom, get understanding, do not forget, nor turn away from the words of my mouth. Folks, you can continue to go through the book of Proverbs and time and again. What you've got is that you're to listen to your father, and not only that, it's got fathers telling sons, remember this, do this. Fathers ought to be involved in the raising of the children. And I'm talking about not just providing. I'm talking about training, teaching, having home Bible study. How many, this is not a show of hands, but how many of you think about this? How many of you actually have home Bible studies where you open the Bible up and you read it and you study it and you pray together? Folks, there's not enough time for your children to learn about God and His Word. If all that gets here on Sunday morning, if you bring them on Sunday morning, that's not enough time. If they really are going to have this Word in their heart, if they're really going to know Him, if they're really going to learn to love Him, then God's Word needs to be taught continually. You think about Deuteronomy chapter 6 that we talked about yesterday. What do you be teaching? Well, when you rise up, that's when you get up in the morning. When you lie down, that's when you go to bed. You're teaching in the home. You're teaching when you walk by the way. That is when you're outside, when you're out away from the house. There's to be constant teaching of God's Word, both in example and an actual word to your children. That's how I understand it. Now, what did, if you go, we set our focus on Proverbs, what did the father, what is called it here? What should a father be teaching? Teaching the young young person? Well, I won't take the time to read all the different categories here, but here's what I found instructions from the father to the son about. He teaches them about friends, what good friendship is and people you should avoid. He teaches them about work, that they need to work and they need to have a work ethic and not be lazy. He teaches them about credit and finances and how dangerous that is. He teaches them about priorities. That wisdom is to be chosen over wealth. If you had to put the two in a balance, which one would you choose? Wisdom. That a good name is to be chosen over riches. You had to put the two in the balance. Integrity is far more important than money. That integrity is to be put over money. You had to put the two in the balance. While the world may pursue money, pursue what's right, even when no one's watching. That love is to be valued over money. That a good wife is to be valued over rubies. How valuable is the mother in the home? How valuable is the wife? Oh, more valuable than rubies. He teaches them about sexuality. He doesn't leave that to school to teach. He teaches them about sexuality. He teaches them about wine and the dangers of alcohol. He teaches them about marriage. He teaches them about child rearing. And those are things that are taught within Proverbs. And Proverbs has the standpoint of a father instructing younger men in certain areas. That's what it's about. And not only that, not only does he teach them, he cares enough to actually discipline them, to be involved. There's a lot of parents today who want to be their kids' friends, their buddies. I'm not saying it's wrong for there to be a closeness between parent and child. But folks, we have a responsibility to bring them up. And that involves discipline if we really care about them. Proverbs chapter 13, verse 24. He who spares his rod hates his son, but he who loves him disciplines him promptly. He disciplines the child. Now, I'm not saying the only discipline that is needed is physical discipline. Sometimes verbal instruction is what's needed. But he cares enough to discipline. Chapter 19, verse 18. Chasten your son while there is hope. Do not set your heart on his destruction. Chasten your son while there's hope. To refuse to discipline your child is to hate that child, we're told in Proverbs chapter 13, verse 24. To refuse to discipline your child is to treat that child as illegitimate, Hebrews chapter 12, verse 8. Now think about that. The easiest thing in the world is just let the child do anything they want. It's somebody that truly cares, that cares enough to involve himself and to correct when correction's needed. And he's doing it. Correction, if it's done the way it's supposed to, is out of love because you care for that child. You want to bring them up in the nurture and the admonition of the Lord. You want them to develop, as we talked about, that fourfold growth, as we talked about before, where you grow in wisdom and stature and favor with God and man. A good father sets an example. In Proverbs chapter 20, verse 7, the righteous man walks in his integrity. His children are blessed after him. The righteous man walks a certain way in his integrity. What's his children do? Well, it says there's a result. As I read it, his children are blessed after him. Because of his integrity, his children are blessed. What do your children see you doing? Because our actions speak louder than our words. What's our example in everyday life, in spiritual life? My father's not here, so I'm going to use him as an example tonight. Your children are watching you when you don't even know it. I remember my dad would get up very early in the morning, and I usually didn't when I was a teenager. But one day I remember getting up, and I walked through the house, and I found him in the den, on his knees in prayer. The Bible was open. He'd been reading the Bible. He'd been praying, and there wasn't anyone around to see him. He wouldn't do it for my benefit, for me to see him. He was doing it because that's how he started his routine every single day. Quiet time with him and God. He read, he prayed, and I saw that. And that example stuck with me. It sticks with me all the way to today. Is because this is not just, oh, we bow our heads when we sit down to eat together, because that's what is expected. And we bow our heads and pray, when we're at the assembly of the saints, we bow our heads. No, he's praying when nobody's watching. Do your children see you praying? Do they see you living the Christian life to the best of your ability? Do they see that spiritual things matter to you? Do they see you involved in the work of the church? Do they see you participating? I hope they do. You see another little statement that I came across, another point. Careful man I ought to be, the little fellow follows me. I do not dare go astray, lest fear he'll go the self-same way. Not once can I escape his eyes. Whatever he sees me do, he tries. Like me, he says, he's going to be that little chap who follows me. What do they see? Do they see he's actually trying to follow him? And I will say this, and I said it yesterday, I'll say this for some of the older kids. If you're looking for a perfect example, there's only one that's ever been, and that's Jesus Christ. Your father's not perfect, your mother's not perfect. But you know what they ought to be seeing? They ought to be seeing you trying to live by the book, trying to live by the standard. They ought to see that. Now, Father leaves an inheritance to his children. I know when you think about an inheritance, you think about money, don't you? Well, Proverbs chapter 13, verse 22 says, a good man leaves an inheritance to his children's children. He leaves an inheritance not just to his children, but to his descendants, his grandchildren. Well, what are you going to leave behind? Well, you might think of material things. Some of us will leave behind material things for our loved ones, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's fine. But I hope you leave more behind. What are you going to leave behind spiritually? Are you leaving behind a good example? That years later, 40 years later, that child will think back, I remember Dad praying and up early and reading the scripture when nobody was watching. Will you leave an example behind? Will you leave spiritual wisdom and insight into things behind? This is how you live. This is how you live as a Christian. Will you leave a burning love for God? I think that sometimes our children are not interested because we leave the impression that it's a burden to be a Christian and it's just a bunch of rules. You do this, you don't do this, and it's a checklist. And if I go through this, and then it's all good. We don't leave the love with Him that they should. What's the motivation for me serving Him? Well, folks, if they don't have the love of God in their heart, don't be surprised if they don't continue to serve Him. We need to teach them love. We love because He first loved us. You ought to teach them that He cared so much about them that He planned this before the foundation of the world. He planned a plan so that He could have an eternal relationship with them. You ought to tell them about the great love where God would actually become flesh. He would live upon this earth and He would give His life for them. And not only did He shed His blood on that occasion, but something that we sometimes miss is we understand the blood of Christ was necessary for us to receive initial forgiveness of sins. But folks, if you go back and read 1 John chapter 1 and chapter 2, you're going to find that blood is still necessary. It's what keeps on cleansing us from all our unrighteousness. He didn't just love us once and forgive us, folks. He forgives us over. Can you imagine how many times He's forgiven you if you added all that up? Do you teach them that? Do you teach them the joy and love for the truth? Do you teach teach them the passion of soul winning? Or do they see lethargy, disinterest, lukewarmness? What do they see? What kind of example are you leaving? And something else, we said just a moment ago, one last thing I want to leave with. We said just a moment ago that your father's not perfect. We want to caution you that your mother's not perfect. There's only one perfect being who's ever been. And maybe you need to learn to forgive them sometimes, but I'll tell you something else. A good father learns to forgive his children, too. You remember in Luke chapter 15, we've got a very touching story. Jesus sets forth a parable of three lost things, a lost sheep, a lost coin, but the most moving of all of them to me is that lost son. And that son, that lost son, so disrespected his father that he couldn't wait for him to die. Do you realize that's what's being said? Give me my inheritance. In other words, I'm not even going to wait for you to die. I want it now. And I don't want to be around you anymore. I'm off to the big city, the bright lights, and I'm going to live my life however I want to. He left his father. He left his home. And he left the work that they did there, no doubt. And he went away. But do you remember the reaction when that son comes back? I'm going to let him have it. I'm going to tell him how it is. I'm going to tell him that, the mess he left his family in when he left and how he disrespected us, and that's not what happens in this account. It says in chapter 15, verse 18, I will arise and go to my father and will say to him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and before you, and I am no longer worthy to be called your son. Make me like one of your hired servants. And he arose and came to his father, but while he was still a great way off, his father saw him and had compassion and ran, and fell on his neck, and kissed him. The son said, Father, I've sinned against heaven and in your sight, and am no longer worthy to be called your son. But the father said to his servants, Bring out the best robe and put it on him, and put a ring on his hand and sandals on his feet. And bring the fatted calf here and kill it, and let us eat and be merry, for this my son was dead and is alive again. He was lost and is found. Well, fathers, if they're what they're supposed to be, are forgiving, and they're loving, and they have compassion for the child, and they only want the best for the child. But here's where problem comes in sometimes. Sometimes there's a problem in the child's eyes or in society's eyes, because when you realize that's really about our Father, our Heavenly Father, but if they don't see that kind of love and compassion at home, how are they going to relate to that kind of compassion from the Father? And husbands are to love their wives as Christ loved the church. If they don't see a husband and wife love relationship, how are they going to understand that love that exists between Christ and His church? You see, what we show in the home has much to do with how they understand their relationship to God, their relationship to Christ. You can't go back and fix things. You start living it if you haven't been living it. But the point I want you to understand is when you look at that loving relationship with the Father welcoming back, that's actually like our Father. And so regardless of what your father was or is, I want you to understand the kind of Father that we actually serve. The kind of being that we actually serve. The one that that calls us His children, if we are in fact His children by accepting His terms for entrance into His family. The God that we serve loves us so much that He's ready to welcome you back. And I would suggest to you, even if you're not in His family, He loves you so much He wants you to be. He's made it possible. My friends, I want you to consider the fact He wants you to forgive you right now. I don't care what your state is. You may be lived a prodigal life. You may have lived a dysfunctional life for a long, long time. That may be your state. I don't know. But He loves you. And He's welcoming to you if you'll come back. He wants you to come back. And so for those that are not Christians, those that have not put on Christ, I want you to understand that there's a way to do it. In Galatians chapter 3, remember what it says in verse 26, you are children of God by faith in Christ Jesus. You're children of God literally by the faith, by the system of faith in Christ Jesus. That is the location. All spiritual blessings are in Christ. You're children of God by the faith in Christ Jesus. What does that mean? Well, for as many of you have been baptized in Christ, you put on Christ. We're accepted through Jesus Christ. How are we accepted through Jesus Christ? Well, if you're baptized in Christ, you're in Christ. And He calls you His children. Have you been baptized in Christ? Or are you part of His family? He wants you to be. And for those that are His children, but you're straying, you've been away, you've been wherever you've been, that message about the prodigal son is really, it has a twofold message. The main points about the older son is to teach us that we as God's children need to be welcoming to people to come back. That's what it's about. But the second thing that we see is that great love the Father has. He wants you to come back home. And so with that, we extend the invitation. We welcome you. We want to receive you, but most especially He wants to receive you. He wants to receive you back. If you need to respond, if you need to be baptized in Christ, or if you need to return to Him, won't you come as we stand, as we sing.
I heard the voice of Jesus say, "Come unto me and rest. Lay down, thou weary one, lay down thy head upon my breast." I came to Jesus as I was, weary and worn and sad. Challenging message to all of us, those of us who are fathers and husbands, and then also to the rest of us, to expect what God has taught in His Word out of our fathers and husbands. And so some very great things for us to consider and to seek to apply to our lives. Let's sing song number 559. Afterwards, we'll be dismissed in our closing prayer. The Joy of the Lord, 559. We sing this one with our kids a lot in our devotionals. The joy of the Lord will be my strength. I will not falter, I will not faint. He is my shepherd, I am not afraid. The joy of the Lord is my strength. The joy of the Lord, the joy of the Lord, the joy of the Lord is my strength. The joy of the Lord, the joy of the Lord, the joy of the Lord is my strength. The joy of the Lord will be my strength. He will uphold me all of my days. I am surrounded by mercy and grace. The joy of the Lord is my strength. The joy of the Lord, the joy of the Lord, the joy of the Lord is my strength. The joy of the Lord, the joy of the Lord, the joy of the Lord is my strength. The joy of the Lord will be my strength. I will not waver, walking my faith. He will be strong to deliver me safe. The joy of the Lord is my strength. The joy of the Lord, the joy of the Lord, the joy of the Lord is my strength. The joy of the Lord, the joy of the Lord, the joy of the Lord is my strength.
Let's all pray together. Dear Lord, we thank you for this time that you've given us here to come hear this great message. Lord, we ask you to be with Brian and his family and guide him and help him to be able to give a good long life to you and your service, and be able to encourage others as he has us tonight. And be with him and be with all the ones that are ill and have illnesses and their families, and help them to strengthen their families or caregivers. Be with them as they attend to the illness of their loved ones, and help us to support them in every way that we can. And also all to go along with what was prayed earlier about being with our president, guide him. Give him the strength and the mind to make good, strong decisions that you would be happy with. Be with our elders here and help us to help them, and also more than anything take this message and preach it to our children. Have them see us doing what we need to be doing, and show that we do have character, which is what you're doing when nobody is. Be with us and guide us